Welcome everybody to the first keynote session of today, Playing Big, How to Meet the World Head On. We hold the power to teach the world how to treat us. But if we don't know who we are or what we want, how can we teach the world to inspire, support, and challenge us to be our best selves? How can we play out big in the world if we play small inside? How do we empower ourselves to find our own unique path to success? To help us answer all these questions, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Janine Manning, a career strategist and personal branding coach from Hong Kong, who will share her personal and professional insights on how we can shape the success we want to create in our life. Janine, welcome to Women Empowerment Forum Global 2020. How are you?
Hi, Neera. I'm great. It's awesome to be here. I've been involved in this event over the last couple of years, and it's just delightful.
Yep.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I'm good, thank you.
So, Janine, I know we had a lot of conversation about, meeting the world head on. What does it mean to meet the world head on?
Neera, I've got a great example of this. I was speaking to my 8-year-old daughter the other day about powerful women leaders, and the name of Greta Thunberg came up. So the 15-year-old activist and environmentalist from Sweden. And when I think about meeting the world head on, I think about each of us dialing up our inner Greta. So what do I mean by that? I mean about being clear, about being confident, about being accountable for telling the world who you are and what you want. Now, when I talk about what you want, I mean what you want as a businesswoman, what you want as a founder, as a mother, as a wife, as a friend. I think with every hat that we wear, we've got this amazing opportunity and responsibility to really go after what we want and to find our own version of success. I know for me in 2020, like knowing my own version of success definitely was that point of difference between being able to grab opportunities and shape opportunities in the moment versus kind of being a bit indecisive and not really sure what to do, and therefore missing out on opportunities, or as some of my clients have explained, feeling like they're kind of spinning out of control a little bit. So I think for me, when you are spinning out of control and you're not in the driver's seat, that's when you don't feel confident. That's when you don't feel like you can meet the world head on. So as a good Catholic girl, and I like to call myself a reformed people pleaser, I resisted meeting the world head on for a long, long time. I was really scared about hurting other people. I was worried about actually not being liked. And even at 43, I still have some days now or some situations where I grapple with that. But the reality was, when I was in my late 20s, I woke up to the realization I didn't have to play by everybody else's rules. What I needed to do was I needed to work out for myself, who was I? What did I want? What was important to me? And what were the rules that I wanted to play with? And I realized I actually also needed to teach the world how to work with me and get the best out of me. So waking up to that realization upheaved my entire world. So I ended a long-term relationship, I moved countries, I changed careers. I really threw myself into personal development and took that accountability, a bit like Greta, and really kind of forming for myself my version of success, not only professionally, but also personally. And that for me was a catalyst to launching my business. It was also the catalyst for me to be able to make some decisions for myself about what I did and didn't want going forward. And that's a massive difference, I think, to be able to say, in 2020, yes, this is right for me, and no, that's not. So I was able to say a big yes just recently to designing and developing a leadership program for the entrepreneurs of tomorrow, which is super exciting. But also that knowledge enabled me to say a big no to a corporate opportunity that everybody told me I was crazy to be saying no to. But at the end of the day, it's my definition of success. It was my rules. And if I look back in 2020, am I happy with kind of what's been created? Absolutely. Yeah. And Neera, here's the thing, right? Like we all have our own definition of success. So there's no right or wrong. It's just what works for you personally and what feels real for you. But what I love about this is once you've locked down your definition of success, you're really in a place to tell the world exactly what you want and meet the world head on, because you've got a starting point. You've got a point A and you've got a point B. Now, with this clarity though, what I often see entrepreneurs do is they throw themselves into the doing side of the business, right? So we look at market share, we look at driving different products, different services. We also look at things like ramping up our social media. What I would love to see also that comes into that mix is that holistic idea of success. So what do they need to be doing on the personal side to be really feeling like they're being their best selves in that moment and, you know, are feeling super confident? So I would love to see a little bit more maybe creative self-expression in there, or something around kind of meditation and mindfulness. I know for me, soulful friendships make a massive difference to how I'm feeling in a situation, how confident I can be. But at the end of the day, for me, it's about that confidence that we create for ourselves, because meeting the world head on is about feeling confident personally and professionally to be able to go, hey, world, this is me and this is what I want. Let's play. So for each of you, if there's anyone out there that's actually doing what I used to do, which is striving for the sake of striving, doing all the shoulds and all the musts, what I would say to you is that's actually where we prevent ourselves from meeting the world head on, because we've got to have blinkers on and we're not showing up and being true to our own clarity, our own truth. We're not being clear to, you know, what makes us confident, and to being accountable for really telling the world exactly what we want. So for those ladies that are out there that are really keen to kind of explore this area further, which is defining your own success, please grab a pen and paper, because I've got my first critical question that I'd love to share with you. So there is an amazing book by Glennon Doyle called Untamed. I don't know if anyone else has come across it, but it's the book that Adele has actually attributed, the singer Adele has attributed to hitting the reset button on both her professional and personal life. And from that book, I'm stealing or borrowing an amazing question around definition of success. So here we go. What is the truest, most beautiful story of my life that I can imagine? What is the truest, most beautiful story of my life that I can imagine? Now, if for some of you that feels a bit lofty and you're not connecting with it, then you can go with my version, which is a lot different, which is simply, what is your definition? What is your holistic definition of success? What is your holistic definition of success? But if you're going to answer my question, please get up on the balcony, look down into your life and consider both the personal and professional definition of success. Because I promise you, if you get clarity on both of those, you're going to feel super confident and capable and ready to meet the world head on.
So when you say holistic, what does it encompass?
So holistic for me is, it's our whole world, right? Like it's looking at, who am I as a professional? Who am I as, for me, it's like, who am I as a mom? Who am I in my own personal development? Who am I in terms of my friendships and my relationships? Where am I stepping up myself and creating that sense of kind of growth and development? So it's looking at all aspects of your life and really saying that career and business is one part. I think for most of us, unfortunately, it takes a big chunk of that time, right? Because we throw our hearts and our souls into it. But at the same time too, things have got to be good on the inside, and we've got to feel confident and comfortable, and like we've got integrity within, I think, to really shine and feel confident to play bigger on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Now, and so what are some of the other things besides defining success that makes us feel confident and bigger inside?
Yeah, so Neera, the other thing that I speak to all my clients about, and I'm a massive advocate for myself, is a thing called, we all have it, is our unique navigation system. And so it's that navigation system within ourselves that enables us to make great decisions from a place of truth and obviously, you know, that sense of integrity for ourselves. Now, what I mean by that, for me, it's our core values. So everybody has core values. But the thing is, what I've discovered is that for the last 12 years, a lot of people have never been gifted the opportunity to sit down with someone and to unpack their core values and understand, like, what are they and what are my rules around them and how do I nourish them, get the best version of me out into the world. So for me, it's about doing a bit of that work. The thing is with your core values, when I talk about core values, to me, they are literally that foundation blocks that sit underneath your happiness. And they are as, you know, vital as oxygen. Because without your core values being present in your life, we feel depleted. We feel like we're ungrounded and untethered in terms of who we are. As an example of this, I'd love to see, people who are listening in today, like how many of us feel at the moment that a big core part of our need, of our personality, of our essence is missing. So maybe it's a sense of stability, a deep need for stability or peace or connection. Maybe it's around health. Maybe we're stuck inside and we're not doing as much kind of exercise as what we want. Maybe for those, maybe it's around around adventure. Everybody's got different of core values, but the thing is that we so know when they're not being met because we just don't feel like our best version of ourselves. When our core values are being met, like life just feels exciting, and it feels vibrant, and it feels colorful, and it feels like we're on fire, and it feels like we can do anything. We've got that confidence to meet the world head on. But when our core values are not being met, life just feels muted and hard and challenging. I'm saying you're nodding your head, so it's right. It's so true, right? For me personally, when my core values are not being met, I feel completely off kilter. And I know I definitely don't have that sense of groundedness and that sense of confidence to go out and say, hey, world, this is me and this is what I want. I definitely kind of back away from the world a little bit more. In 2020, I guess the two core values for me that have been hit the most has definitely been travel, so adventure for me. I've never been so jealous of my parents' caravanning adventures that they're having in Australia than I am right now. And the second thing for me is definitely around connection. So when I was talking earlier about that great corporate opportunity that I said no to, and everyone told me I was crazy, it came down to my core value of connection. So on the surface, it was an amazing opportunity. It ticked all my boxes, working with a global company, working with all their executives, help their executives to build their personal brands and to refocus for the year, everything about accelerating an individual. And I was like, yes, I'm in. But then I actually found out that organization has a policy where their people don't have to turn their videos on for their workshops. And so I was going to be saying yes to spending 10 days feeling very, very disconnected to the people I was trying to connect with and bring value to. And so I had to say no, because from a core value perspective, I knew for me that I had to show up with that value being met, because that's when I do my best work. And I knew that spending 10 days kind of feeling disconnected was also only going to kick off my gremlin, my internal kind of chatterbox, because it would have been saying to me, Janine, what are you doing? This is not your best work. You're not bringing as much value as you should. And the thing is, Neera, like when we talk about our core values, if we go against them, if we don't choose to honor them and to nourish them, what we actually do is we take it like a hammer, we take like a big chunk out of our foundation of our own self-trust. And we kind of tell ourselves, hey, you know what? I knew what was right for you, but I didn't have your back in that moment, and you can't trust me. So for me, core values are so critical, able to feel like you can tackle the world, you can meet the world head on, you can make really confident decisions on what you're going to do and say yes to, what you're going to say no to. It also helps you to be able to get really clear for yourself around your own healthy boundaries, both within the business and also as an individual. And I think off the back of that, you can literally say, hey world, game on, I'm ready to play. So for anyone that's out there at the moment that is about to make some big decisions in their business, whether that be about critical decisions about the direction of the business going forward in 2021, maybe it's around marketing, maybe it's around branding or your own self-brand, personal branding. The thing is, your core values is 100% going to shape how you show up in every one of those situations. So if you're in a position where you haven't had a chance to connect with your values and to own them and to know how to nourish them, please check out the workbook that I've sent through to Neera and to her team. It will help you to unpack that and connect a little bit more with your core values and understand how you can use them to dial up your confidence and feel a lot more comfortable meeting the world head on by making great decisions that come from the heart of who you are.
Great.
So can I share a quick question for those people that want a critical question on this one? So the quick question there is, what do I value the most and unequivocally need in my life to feel grounded, real, and connected to who I truly am? It's a big question, but it's a beautiful question. And if you can get some answers around that, I promise you, you will feel alive and confident to go forward and tackle the world and get what you want from it.
Janine, could you repeat the question for us one more time?
Of course. What do I value the most and unequivocally need in my life to feel grounded, real, and connected to who I truly am?
And will that help us find our core values? Because my next question for you was going to be that, again, success and core values, they're subjective and they're different for everybody. And they're also difficult to define, right? So, where does somebody start? I mean, are these questions going to help us define them for us? Or are there any other steps that we can take?
Yeah, absolutely. What I would say, I mean, this sounds crazy, but core values are one of those things that I think you've got to start to build your awareness on, and then you've got to test and measure it. So I know I've got a couple of clients that are out there today kind of listening, and they would agree to this. There's a process of unpacking your core values and asking questions like that, like, what do I need that makes me feel grounded and most happy and connected to myself? It's a beautiful question to start to pull out and start to think, actually, when are those times when I felt most grounded or most happy? What was going on for me in that moment, and what was present, and what was I really valuing in that moment? Often people will go to their greatest day, so it might be a wedding or a celebration, and what was happening for you? Was it a connection because people were there? Was it respect because you were delivering a presentation of some sort? What was playing out for you that actually made you think, wow, actually that was really important to me? But likewise, you go to the other side, which is go to some of the most challenging days in your life, and what you'll realize is that what made them so challenging is that your core values weren't present. So in my workbook, there's a whole range of questions that I step you through to be able to get a little bit more clarity, and then to boil down, because we value a lot of things, but it's actually getting down to those core values, which I think is what really helps you in the moment to make those great, confident decisions.
Well, we have a very interesting question from somebody, and they've asked us anonymously. The question says, well, it's a statement, but it says, I'm afraid of being judged for my values.
Yeah, I understand. So the thing is with values, they are personal to who we are. And our values come about from when we're a little child. So by the age of 7, we've actually established the majority of our values in life, because it comes from our map of the world and every experience and exposure that we have. So what I would say to you is, I've got clients who likewise choose not to share their values out in the world, but they use those values to navigate. They use those values to understand for themselves, what's the right decision here, where are my boundaries, what kind of conversations, how do I want to show up? So what I would say is, if you are feeling like you're worried to be judged by your values, use them as a navigational tool, but you don't have to go out and state to people exactly what your value is.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, a lot of the things, like the questions that you've given us, and from what I'm hearing, everything that you're saying would take up a lot of time, to connect with ourselves and look at all these answers to the questions. Now, you know how all of us are so time pressed. This is one resource that is so limited. How do we create that space, for this kind of inner reflection, and then to be able to take the actions that you're talking about?
Yeah, you're so right, Neera. Like, it's lovely to think about these things, but as we both know, it's when we carve out that time and we truly reflect on them and we create action steps from them that we start to integrate them into our lives. So I've got kind of three things that I do that I want to share in case it helps. Everybody's different, but for me, knowledge is power, and that's whether a knowledge comes from you as an individual through your own reflections, or whether that's knowledge through others. So the 3 things that I do to try and carve out time. So I'm a business owner and entrepreneur. I'm also a mum. I've also got a few other projects on the go. So I try and carve out time where I can. So my first tip to you is, when my children are reading a book, I've got a book in my own hands. And so when they're reading, I'm reading it at night time. And often we'll share like little excerpts of what we're each reading. And I kind of love that, because my kids are starting to learn and ask great questions at the age of 8 and 6. The other thing I do is, like, when I'm hiking, when I'm walking, when I'm dropping a child off to school, or at netball or rugby or whatever it might be, we do our gratitude on the fly. So I love a good gratitude practice, because I think it reminds us again of what's important, and it tells us and it reminds us of kind of how well that we're doing. And I think it just tops up that sense of resiliency. So we do it on the fly all the time as a family. That's my first tip. My second tip is I have learned the joy of the linked list. So about, I don't know, it would have been probably about 4 or 5 months ago, I got home from Australia. I had this massive pile of books beside my bed, and I was just overwhelmed that there was all this rich knowledge, but I couldn't absorb it and I couldn't pass it on to my clients because where was I going to find 8 hours per book? I know, it's crazy. So what I loved is the client introduced me to Blinkist. And what I love about it is it boils everything down to the core concepts in a book and enables me within a matter of 16 minutes to go, right, what are the core kind of concepts here? How can I apply them and try them on for size over the next kind of week or 2 weeks and work out for myself what resonates and what doesn't resonate? I then re-gift the books to clients where it might be more powerful for them. But if I want to deep dive into a particular book, that's when I do it. And my final tip is, I think the biggest part, and any coach will say this, is journal writing, right? So it's about everything we've talked about today. It's about recognizing when your values are being met or not being met. It's about recognizing whether you're holding yourself accountable to your definition of success. It's about hearing kind of that inner gremlin and saying, oh, when did that pop up? We can only do that when we carve out time for us to reflect. I personally find it really difficult at the beginning of the day or the end of the day because of my schedule to find that time. But what I've started to do in the last 6 months is use my phone and just an audio app on my phone. And I'm actually talking to myself. So I'm saying, hey, Janine, like today, you're feeling kind of really out of kilter. Like what's going on for you? And I'll leave a voicemail message for myself. So I'll be dropping all of these pieces of information or feelings, or I will be connecting dots and leave myself a message. And then what I do is on the weekend, I go and grab a Starbucks, or while I'm hiking, I put my earphones in and I re-listen to everything. And I kind of are able to fast track and go, okay, well, a week later, what's really important for me now? What's actually kind of, dissipated and no longer of importance? And now what's the 1 or 2 things I'd like to focus on for the next week? So that's just kind of 3 tips that I do. I know finding time is difficult, but Neera, as you and I both know, as entrepreneurs, if we don't spend the time pointing the needle to the things that really matter for us, both professionally and personally, we are telling the world as well as ourselves that those things aren't in fact important to us. So if we want to meet the world head on, I think know who you are, get your definition of success, tap into your values if you can, and find that time to just keep reflecting, keep reminding yourself of who you are, what you want and why you want it, and make some great decisions based on that.
Yes, I mean, that's fantastic what you just said about making the time, because if we don't make the time now, well, we're not going to succeed anyway. So whatever
No.
we're doing, we're wasting time if we don't make time for the right things in life. Great point. There any final insight before we go?
No, I just wanted to say to everyone, like I've been in your program. I was person sitting on the other side. I guess my one thing is often we go to amazing events like this, especially yours, and we take on so much information. The tip for me is, I guess, is boiling it down. Like take your 3 key pieces of gold from every day, create an action list, obviously, and then move forward on that action list. And just use that kind of your 3 key goals and go back and ask yourself, like, how does this help me to fulfill my definition of success? How does this keep me aligned to what I want to achieve? Other than that, enjoy, because it's going to buckle up and it's going to be an amazing 3-day event.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Janine, for speaking with us today. This certainly has been thought-provoking and inspirational at the same time. For everybody else, we have shared Janine's details on the chat. So if you want to get in touch with her, if you want to know more about the work that she's doing, then please do get in touch with her. And yes, some of you have been asking about the workbook. Yes, we will be sharing the workbook, which is called Values, The Secret to Your Success. We'll be emailing it out to everybody after the event. So don't worry about that. And of course, those of you who are going to be joining us for the networking session, which is at 6 p.m. Singapore and Hong Kong time, you will be able to meet with her again and ask any other questions that you've got. And yes, well, once again, thank you, Janine, and we'll see you soon.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.